Town of Malabar regular town council meeting Monday, January 7, 2019 at 7:30 shall commence. Please stand for our prayer.
As we bow our heads to pray, may each of us thank our Creator for the privilege of living in and serving our community. We ask for wisdom and guidance in any and all decisions. We also ask for protection for the members of our armed forces. Pray for their safe return and give strength to their loved ones. These things we say in thy name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sarah, turn your phone off.
Council Chair, Mayor Patrick T. Riley.
Here.
Vice Chair Steve Ribbetts.
Here.
Council members Grant Ball.
Here.
Brian Bale.
Here.
Dick Horn.
Here.
Danny White.
Here.
Town Administrator Matt Stinnett.
Here.
Town Attorney Carl Bone is excused, and I'm the Town Clerk Treasurer Debbie Franklin.
Is there any additions, deletions, or changes to the agenda? Right, I'll accept the motion to approve the regular town council meeting minutes of November 11, 2018 and December 17, 2018.
I'll make the motion. I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried 5-0. The attorney's excused tonight, and the sheriff, I guess, is excused. We'll move on to Trail and Greenways Committee reports. I received an email from Drew Thompson, and he met with the city of Palm Bay on December 20th. The meeting was encouraging and was well attended by both represented interests with the Trail and Greenways Committee of Palm Bay and Malabar. We discussed some future projects and plans of mutual interest and established a basis of future communications and possible coordinated efforts. Okay, we'll move on to Park and Rec Board. Planning and zoning, not here. Move on to staff reports. Administrator, Matt.
Nothing major. I got confirmation today that we will have a running ditcher by next Monday. So the motor was shipped out from the factory. We will order by the end of this week to the dealer, and they'll come out and install it on Monday.
Any questions? Move on to Tom, Public Works.
Good evening. Last month we worked on the whole project for a week and a half, and then we took the rest of the month off to get a couple other things done around town. In the last 2.5 weeks we graded 17 roads. We serviced 10 pieces of equipment, completely serviced. We fixed the tennis net in the park, put the last soccer bench in. We picked up all the wood on Gator Way that was dumped there illegally. We trimmed all the trees out here in Town Hall. We spent a couple of days cleaning out the shop, getting rid of the useless crap. And we took 9 loads of the scrap pipe that was in the yard to make room for the timber building that all went up to Rockland. So that's what we were doing all last month. Tomorrow we go back to the whole project and keep going.
Question, Tom. There's a couple of places along Apps and some of the other roads where the pavement on the edge is broken away. And I know we probably can't afford to get a pavement contractor in here yet, but is there something we can do to put some type of material in there to keep it from getting worse?
Yeah, we've patched them before. And,
yeah.
It's just people that keep driving over the grass, keep breaking them off.
But there's basically acts between Weber and Corey on the south side is eating away in a couple of chunks where if somebody's coming opposite direction is big enough, you better stop or you're gonna go into a hole.
Okay.
You know, I just wanted to bring that up.
No problem. And the rest of the right of ways were cut for the last time, so
Yeah,
we're going back to our original plan.
okay.
Okay?
All right.
Anything else?
All right, thank you. Move on to, Madam Clerk
I don't have anything.
and Chief.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Okay.
We just received the 50/50 grant for our bunker gear. We got 7 sets of bunker gear. We paid, excuse me, it was $18,785. Out of the 50/50, we paid $9,444. The grant was $10,000, so we had a savings there. Next Friday, all 7 firefighters with seniority get fitted for the year, so we're doing it by seniority. We had a total of 506 calls as the end of the year, so we're a little ahead. We also got a decon grant, which was free, and all of them are on their trucks. Everybody's been trained, so we're ahead of the game on that. We also received 5 air packs, which was free, and it was $38,000. So we have received $56,783,000 in grants, but $942 spent. So we have 4 more grants out there. Any other questions? Lieutenant Cooper also has to get, he's one of my big grant writers, so I'll let him know that everybody's happy that Lieutenant Grant was. So,
I have said this before, but it's been a couple of years. I've been impressed with the fire department for the last few years, under the current leadership. Has come up with a great deal of grant money and gifts from other municipalities, and just a tremendous amount of savings to this town that we never got for 10 years that I know of. My compliments to the chief and his staff.
it's a team effort, it's just not me, I'm only as good as people.
I said, and you understand, but you have saved this town a tremendous amount of money that I know of in the 5 years I've been on council.
Thank you. I'll continue to do so. Yes, sir.
Just for a layman, what is a decon?
It's a 5-gallon bucket. It'll have 2 things of hose, spray nozzles, decontaminate our bunker gear before we get it back in the truck, before we bring it back to the station to wash on scene. And it has detergent and everything else. Then we'll put it in our washing machine. So everything gets decon before we get back in the truck. Carcinogens, structure fires, brush fires. So everything is clean before it gets back in the truck, before we contaminate everything in the vehicle.
Makes good sense.
So, and again, that was a free grant. So the Division of Forestry gave us that grant too, so.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, move on to public comments. First card is Laura. Please state your name and address for the record. And you have 5 minutes.
Laura Mahoney, 2475 Malabar Road, Malabar, Florida. If you truly want the voice of the people or even care what the people think, you will make time for the people to analyze the information, the calendar, agenda, meeting notes, and public information. Right now, the calendar isn't up to date, and I would suggest that we pull up the old site until the new site is ready. And I know on the new site, there's a bunch of different calendars for each group. And I know there's a way that you can filter them on top of each other so that we have one calendar to look at. I would suggest that you look up that, and, but we might want to use our old site and the old calendar so that we have information on a timely manner. I'd ask you to set personal differences aside and work for the good of all of the people, not dismissing a single one. Take time to listen to the people. To advertise in the paper not even a week before a meeting and have no announcement on a town website is not neighborly or any way to encourage citizen involvement. I'd urge you to cancel the Board of Adjustment meeting and to move for the Planning and Zoning Board to do a review first. That is involving our volunteer citizen group, thereby relating with the people. Engaging with the public should be one of the most crucial developments in our community. First, we need to bring up our future land use up for a second reading, like we mentioned would happen after it went to the state. There was a room full that were not comfortable, and we owe it to them to listen to them, especially the concerns from our very own planning and zoning board. Also, why was the most important compliance issue according to the state not sent in? Remember, that was the stormwater, because the state had money that could be requested to help individual property owners get some relief. We should be proactive here. So for the compliance issue, the state said that the stormwater was of the #1 reason for putting things into compliance. It was not zoning. We were welcome to do the zoning issue, but the state said that there is money available that we would have to request for. They were even buying out homes for stormwater problems. So we should be real proactive in that. And thank you.
Next card is Sarah. Please state your name and address for the
Yes.
record. You have 5 minutes.
Good evening, happy New Year. Sarah Marino, 1720 Benjamin Road, in Mount Florida.
Could you put the mic
Oh,
close?
okay,
You can bend it down towards you.
okay. Sarah Marino, 1720 Benjamin Road, Malabar, Florida, 32950. This is, again, our concern, the Marino's concern, Benjamin and Treadwell drainage problem, which continues right now, beautifully dry. But when it rains, seasonally rains, it becomes a moat. So there's a drainage problem in the Benjamin Treadwell area of Malabar. This matter had been previously discussed with the previous town manager. Eventually, the town manager informed us that vegetation would be removed and ditches would be built. It's been more than 2 years and nothing has materialized. When we have seasonal rains, our property becomes a collecting bowl of water from the neighborhood. This needs to be addressed and no longer ignored. It has to be well planned and executed effectively to avoid further problems. And then I was thinking, I discussed it with some people, could we start out by just creating a swale, and the swale connecting from Treadwell to Corey, then observe how well that's going to work and continue with other effective solutions, instead of going in there and digging, and because it could be complicated, it could get worse. My neighbor, the water that goes into his property totally flows into mine. I mean, it's unreal. Of course, it's beautiful out there, but this does not drain in 3 days. This takes a while, and we don't like it. So I hope that this is addressed, and thank you very much for listening to this.
Thank you, sir.
All right, move on to resolutions. There's a appoint Mr. Carnell Jean to Park and Rec Board, Resolution 01219. Please read by title only.
Resolution of the Town of Malabar, Brevard County, Florida, providing for the appointment of Farnell Jean to the Malabar Parks and Recreation Board as a regular member, providing for repeal of resolutions or parts of resolutions in conflict herewith, providing for an effective date.
Entertain a motion for approval.
I'll second.
Or the other way around if you prefer.
Any discussion? All right, we'll do a roll call vote.
Councilmember Ball.
Aye.
Councilmember Vale.
Aye.
Councilmember Corn.
Aye.
Councilmember White.
Aye.
Councilmember Ribbit.
Aye.
Motion carried 5-0.
Thank you. All right, move on to request cancellation of second meeting in January and February for federal holidays. So we'll discuss, entertain a motion and
You need a motion or just consensus?
consensus probably.
I'm good with the second January meeting. Obviously, we don't have a whole lot going on right now.
We've done
I
this for several
prefer
years.
Yeah.
to leave the February meeting, because we could potentially discuss that the first meeting in February. And if there's anything that's critical, we could reschedule the second meeting.
But it's still a federal holiday, so.
Well, again, I'm okay with canceling the meetings with the caveats, if anything comes up we have to take care of, that we schedule a different date.
I agree.
Would that work?
I'm not with that.
is the motion to cancel both of them?
Yes.
Because what I would like to see is we cancel the second meeting in January, we always have, because it's President's Day, I believe, whatever, some kind of holiday anyhow. And hold off on the cancellation of the second one in February until the first meeting in February, so we'll know whether we're going to need a second meeting and when we should schedule it. And make that decision during the first meeting in February.
Well, Brian just brought that up, but, yeah, but the fact is we're not gonna meet on the holiday.
No, but we can find another time that month to have our second
His
meeting.
provision was that we could do that.
Right.
And the first meeting in February.
Even if we cancel both of them now, first meeting in February, we can schedule a second.
schedule a second.
Can we do that even if we
Yes.
vote to cancel it now?
Yes.
Then I'm fine. Okay.
Any others?
So did we have a motion?
This is complicated.
Yeah.
Just a consensus.
Just consensus? Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Consensus carried. All right, we'll move on to reports. Brian?
Really don't have nothing, I just, like I said, happy New Year to everybody, and I'm just glad to see the holidays come, I'm glad to see them go, so we can get focused on what we need to be doing. That's about it.
Steve?
Okay, I was contacted by Mr. Steve Proctor at the south end of Appleby. I think you guys will remember the issue that we've had with the metal that was in the road material that has worked itself out. Apparently, he's gotten another couple of flat tires. He asked for some help in resolving that situation. He was actually pretty irate when I talked to him, so he must have just recently had to replace a tire. And I mean, I can understand that. I'd be irate if it happened to me too. And I just would like to know, what can we do, to fix this long term? We put new material on the road twice, and it's just, these metal scraps are working their way up through the material. I'm pretty sure we've had Public Works go over the road with magnetic rollers, pick up any steel. And again, I would just like to understand, is there anything else that we could do short of, digging up the road and replacing material? Because, we'd have to go probably about a foot.
Yeah, we dug up the north side with the problem with the vendor.
I'm sorry, it's the north side, not the south
Yeah.
side of the road.
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay.
excuse me.
Yeah,
And
we had
it's
problems the
still
first
an
time we
issue.
dug it out.
Right.
So we've changed vendors since then.
May I ask the Works Director a question on this subject? Do we have adequate magnets to do this? I know in some yards, big warehouse yards and so forth, they'll have a yard truck with a humongous magnet under the front bumper that can pick up anything, a thumbtack.
No, we don't have that.
Would it be beneficial if we did acquire such a thing?
Yeah, in that case, yes.
We ought to look into that then.
Well, when we've used a roller over it, are we talking the little one you push by hand?
Yeah. that's all.
And are we doing it, maybe one thing would help, just an idea, if we did it on a routine basis, like weekly for a while, and see if we could, because they're coming up. Well, we're not putting a tire in when they're buried, but as soon as they come to the surface, maybe we could pick them up before they create a flat. I don't know, just a thought.
I'll ask a few people about the magnets, and people on the heavy equipment, yes.
Okay.
Anything else?
Yeah, the other thing I'd like to ask about is, the drainage issues on, that Ms. Moreno talked about. Is that something that we have on the roadmap for addressing that? Is it?
I do not have that on my radar,
Okay.
so that is now on it, but.
Okay, I'd like to just at least add that to the list of items that we can look at for the, can I?
Sure.
Tom, could you comment?
Yeah, there's one other problem on Treadwell, where the water flows through there. property on the one side, the homeowner there refuses to put a pipe in there to fill the ditch in for their back entrance to their gate. There's a pipe missing on there, and they've been sent numerous letters and they refuse to do it. So that's where some of that water backs up from. Not all of it, but some of it.
Well, Councilman White brought up something that I've had an issue with ever since I've been on this board. It seems like between washouts, which we have when we have heavy rains, and people driving off the edge of the roads, are decent paved roads, we're breaking them down. And I really think that needs to be something that we more actively address. And I guess you have to do it and sod it, because if it's a washout, if you don't sod it, the next rain washes it right out again. So I know it sounds like a big deal, but it's a shame to be losing the corners on the roads, and I can think of a few of them like you can. And there was a heavy piece of equipment somewhere that broke down a bunch of them. I don't know what it was that was in there. You can see where it was crushed in several places, but most of what I see is from washout, drains into the ditch and washes the dirt away, and then it washes right to the edge, and then there's nothing for the road to be supported to the edge.
I was hoping that we were talking about something more than just dirt.
Well, I think they pack in, don't you pack in hot patch or something?
Gravel.
You know, and a couple of years ago, on the four main intersections of town, I suggested curbing them, keep people off the grass. Putting a 50-foot radius front and back, so they'll stay off that edge of the road when they make that turn.
But if you don't grass it back in, it just washes away again.
Yeah, and some of these areas that I was talking about, Tom, aren't on the turn where a big vehicle turns too tightly or something.
Right.
They're like going down the straightaway.
Correct.
Where it's just because of washout or whatever.
Yeah, it's washout, and
Right.
believe it or not, it's a good percentage of the post office trucks.
Yeah.
That kind of run off to get to the mailboxes.
Yeah,
And the problem with four-wheels running down the side of the road.
yeah.
You dig out that road.
But anyway, if we can address it in some way, it would be.
Yeah, it would be nice to have that, because that has been an issue of mine.
Yeah, there's some areas of Hall Road that's exactly the same.
The millings and gravel have been pretty effective at that for quick fixes. I know it's not a permanent fix, but I remember at Marie, or Hall and LaCourte, that gravel you put in there stayed pretty good, because that was a constant problem.
Yeah.
And they would fill it in. Tom put gravel in, it was probably a year or so ago, and that gravel stayed pretty good. It's probably 3/4 mile.
Yeah.
My husband used to go sweep it back in. So it's a motorcycle.
Well, first off, the issue on Gator Lake. I went and talked to Lloyd, he was the one that I think brought it up, and I may be wrong, but I tried to explain to him that it's not the town's responsibility to clean up stuff like that. Apparently, this fellow took a fence and threw it there, and there was some debate over whether it was his property or somebody else that did it. I don't know. We don't need to start a war between residents, so Lloyd was cool with that too. He was very happy that that y'all took care of it. But, so it's kind of aggravating when, sort of like, did people dump some tires on your road a while ago? And so, you know, I know we try to do what we can when we can, you know. But if we try to clean up everybody's mess in this town, it would be overwhelming, I think, you know. But I do thank you for getting out there and taking care of that. It made everybody over there happy, you know. So, and the fellow knocked on my door yesterday, and we had company, so I was a little bit quick with him, but he was a fellow on the Citizens Patrol that I had not met yet. I think he said his name was Joel, I think. You know, Matt, who that? I know we got Jim that does the Citizen Patrol. This was somebody I hadn't met before. He had found some bushy dog that he was checking to see if it was my dog. Of course, he thought it was my dog because he was soaking wet. He was all over me, you know. And I'm holding one of our little dogs, you know, trying to keep them apart and everything. But anyway, you know, I don't think we give enough credit to people that do stuff like that. Work on the Citizens Patrol, they're not getting, as far as I know, pay for any of it. They're just doing it out of the goodness of their heart. And I just, if I meet him again, I'd just like to say thank you to him. You know, I don't know if he found the dog's owner or whatever, but, you know, I'm just grateful that we have people like that. Otherwise, Happy New Year again, and everything's good.
To my knowledge, follow this up, there's only 2 people certified right now as citizens on patrol through the sheriff's department. One of them's Jim Rollerson, and one is an older man who's been there for a long time. He usually shows up in Springfest. I can't think of his name. I don't think I've ever known his name. Mike, you know who I'm talking about?
No, sir, but I know exactly who it is. If he comes by again, I'll get his name and bring it to him.
Yeah, I think we'll have to push that, because at one time we had Eagle Patrol, which was basically citizens on patrol that just rode around looking. One of the reasons they went defunct was they turned themselves into a code enforcement patrol, which is not their job. But on the other point, another point that came up, you mentioned Gator Way, and I had a conversation with that gentleman too. We have a problem in this town with people taking their trash and putting it in a road away from where they live. I don't know if you found out who put this down on Gator Way, that's one thing. But there was a bunch of trash put out on Waring Lane about 6 months ago. Somebody putting furniture out at the corner of Atz and Weber on the northwest corner. And it's different furniture every day. I don't know where it's coming from. Not from the people who live around there. In fact, there's nobody that lives on that corner. But people need to own up to their own trash and put it out and work with Waste Management. Waste Management will work with you. And if you've got stuff they don't normally take, all you gotta do is go to Home Depot, spend $29 or $30 for a bagster, pull all the stuff in there and they'll haul it off. No problem at all. And get rid of trash that's not normally taken away. But another subject that came up in the last few weeks, and I think, Matt, maybe you, somebody I had a conversation with even today, about a teen council. We haven't had one in quite a while. It was a big thing for Carl Beatty. Mayor Eschenberg followed up with some, but lately we have not had, and it's not necessarily the mayor's job, but do we have an adequate number of teens in town who would be interested in reforming a teen council? Because we had a very good one at one time. In fact, it won a statewide competition under video. We ought to just start looking around in our districts and see if there are teams who would be interested in this. Another thing that the wires that were down that we were talking about on Ash Road do belong to AT&T, and I believe they've been contacted to come and get their wires. They're out of the ditch. I thought they were Spectrums, they're not. They are AT&T wires. Spectrum did come out within 2 hours of when I went to their office. Inspected all of that, then came to my house to show me what they found out and why they found that out. So they did respond. And we need to say that. A few years ago, I brought up the idea of no-through trucks. And I think, Steve, I think you were on the council when I brought this up before. From Cary Road to Malabar Road, all the way through. There's a lot of construction going on Weber Road now, where a lot of these trucks full of dirt and so forth have to go down Weber to get to those sites. But there are some full trucks, heavy trucks, exceeding the speed limit, going down from south to north on Weber Road daily. And they're going to tear up the road. They are tearing up the road. And I talked with one council member and a mayor in Granville, Cary, because they would have to cooperate with us too on this. And they kind of agreed that would be an idea. No through trucks. We can't say no trucks. But don't use Weber or Corey Road as an alternative to the police-enforced Babcock Street. We ought to think about that in a future meeting.
I don't have anything.
So I have one more thing. Just had an epiphany. Years ago, we used to have trash patch, and I participated in that as well as my kids. I mean, we took cars out of the woods that were
just the carcass of a car and everything else we discovered out there. Carl used to head that up. That might be a good thing to bring back. I mean, we've got a community of people that would be willing to help, and I would be willing to help as well. So just, I don't know what it would take to bring the trash bash back, but maybe work with Waste Management on that, or whoever it is that helped us with that. And just thought.
Well, on that point, one thing that we do have a situation with in Malabar is if you have an old can of paint, there's no place to take it. Nobody wants it. You can drive all the way to Cocoa, I guess, and turn in paint that looks good, but if you take them a rusty old beat up can, they don't want it. And we used to have something here where you could,
Trash bash.
it wasn't just trash bash, but it was well, we got somebody gonna answer this.
Yes, we did collect the paint, and it cost the town $4,000 to dump the paint.
But now, hold it, the Sarno dump does have a toxic dump, because I have bought paint
I
there.
have
Yes.
too, but you bring a rusty old can of paint that some one of your renters has left when they left the house, a whole bucket full of them, and take it there, and they will not take it.
Really?
Because there's no label?
Yeah.
Oh, because I get all over the
They
place.
say that something about being over 10 years old or something like that. Debbie and I were discussing that. And if it's over 10 years old, they won't take it. Well, you know, put it in the backyard and shoot it. You know, that gets rid of it, but you know, that's not really the way we ought to do it. And the other way, which most homeowners would do, is, oh, well, I drove all the way up there and they turned me around, they're not gonna take it, so I guess I'll just put it in a bag, and throw it in my trash.
Put it in the back.
And then it ends up the same place that it used to be.
So I think they accept it once a month or once every 6 months. They have a call and they'll take all the old paint, they'll pick it up.
Who will pick it up?
Waste Management.
Will they?
Yep, I think so. They
That
have
works with you
electronic
real
pickup
well.
too, but it's not every month. Might be a good idea to call and find out when they're gonna do it.
Well, that'd be a good idea then. That's one thing, because I've had other people talk to me and it's been an issue for me.
I know for some people you could take stuff once a year, which is not enough.
All right, without objection, being adjourned.
I'm gonna back it.